Okay, JM, this video is for you. You are questioning about darkness and how to counter them. So I'm going to go scout a few here so we can talk about possible ones. I'm going to use some that are of lower levels because it does get a little bit more difficult as you get into the 5s and the 6s. But the same concept really applies to all of them. So the whole point of a Darknest is not necessarily to kill more troops or to kill all the troops. The idea is to kill more than they kill of yours. So to have the least amount of damage. So when we look at this Darknest here, there's 3 different kinds of troops. I tend to not do these types because without knowing which phalanx it's in, you don't know which one of their troops is up front. So a lot of times you'll see me run a single type, which, for example, this one here has infantry and range. And we know that infantry counters range. And there's no cav here to counter the infantry. So this Darknest here, I would run a full infantry attack on this. I would likely do this full infantry, but I would run a ranged phalanx or ranged wedge. This one here, you can see again, it has infantry and range. So again, you would run an infantry Darknest or infantry troops to counter these range, since there is no cav to counter the infantry. Another key point is 99.9% of the time you should always run buffers. So your buffers, basically you'd run 4 or 5 range, 4 or 5 cav, and all the rest of your troops would be infantry in this type of a Darknest. It's hard for me to explain how that works, but if you do that and you have your phalanx in the proper phalanx, then it increases your kills. It basically moves the troops up over the wall or moves the troops in the Darknest into a different phalanx and allows you to basically attack harder. This one here is a mix. This isn't a really good example, but let's say instead of having, let me scout some more here and show you how I kind of decide what to do on a complete mixed. I like one that has one certain troop type that the count is much lower, and that's usually where I start off. So find a few more here. Oh, running out of armies. We're running a lot of Darknests in the guild right at the moment, so a lot of my armies are out doing that. Alright, so here comes another one. Here is a mixed troop type. And it's possible I might run this with range first. And just because there's a fair amount of infantry there to counteract my range, but it's a possibility I could beat it that way depending upon what phalanx it's in. Same here. I'd likely maybe go full cav on this, of course with buffers. By the way, the only time I do not use buffers is if it's only range and cav inside of the Darknest. Then you run straight range, no buffers. This is where they become hard, is these level 6s. I haven't completely figured those out. We don't have enough T5 in our guild really to be running an almost full T5 one. Here's a good mix. For example, there's the least amount is cav. So you could try running infantry with buffers to see if you would beat that. So that's kind of a start on where to start off with those, and just try some practicing. Again, remembering running buffers on everything except for a straight range rally against cav alone. There can't be any infantry inside of there, so run buffers otherwise. And then your phalanx basically is one phalanx to the right. And if you look at the pictures, for example, if I'm running full infantry, I would run one phalanx to the right, which is range wedge, and puts my infantry in the back. So those buffers are helping to change the phalanx here inside of their troops and allowing us to win a little bit easier. I was taught that in a previous guild that we were in, and I went from losing about 50% of my Darkness, that would be Darkness number 5, to winning about 99.9% of them. So however it works, it seems to work. So that's all.